Hey everybody, my name is Mr. Steve, and today we're going to do our first episode in a new series that's called Fact or Fiction. Today we're going to be talking about cryptids. We're going to be using this book called Tales of the Cryptids, Mysterious Creatures That May or May Not Exist, as investigated by Halls, Spears, and Young. And so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay, since you're watching this, I imagine that you are interested in cryptids. This is a really long explanation for what cryptids are, but essentially they're creatures that may or may not exist. What we're going to do for the next little while is we're going to hear eyewitness accounts, see pictures. We have 8 different videos that we're going to watch about these different kinds of cryptids. There are 15 cryptids total, and your job is to determine whether you think they are fact or fiction, whether you think these creatures are real or not real. The great part about cryptids is we do not know if they're real or not real anyway, so whatever you say is right because it's your own opinion. Keep an open mind, please. And let's get started with one that you know and probably have heard of before called Bigfoot. Now close your eyes and imagine a scenario. The night is dark as it is quiet. A night wrapped in a blanket of late autumn fog. You're walking home from a friend's house, past a stretch of thick, undeveloped forest. You have a flashlight in your hand, and your jacket is pulled tight around you to keep out the damp evening chill. Step after step, the only sound you hear is gravel scratching beneath your sneakers. Then a strange howl freezes you in your tracks. Woo! A foul odor wafts through the fog, and even then, your feet aren't moving. And you hear something creeping up from behind, snapping twigs and rustling leaves. You gather all your courage to do a quick about face, to stare eye level at the belly of a hair-covered giant. You don't see its gentle brown eyes until you look up almost 7 feet above the ground. A frightened yelp escapes your open mouth before your hands can cover it. Startled by the sound, the creature turns faster than you did, and in a panicked gallop, it vanishes into the depths of the piney woods. The smell slowly fades, but the memory never will. You, my friend, have just seen Bigfoot. And so a little bit of information about Bigfoot. This is some vague information, but really Bigfoot has been said to be between 6 and 9 feet tall from people who have seen them. While there are Bigfoot sightings from all over the world, they're called different things depending on where you are in the world. Here in the United States and Canada, we call it Bigfoot. And that is an important thing to know, is that these Bigfoot sightings have mostly taken place all across the Northwest United States and Canada. So Washington and Oregon are 2 very big spots for different sightings of Bigfoot. In the world, Bigfoot is called other things, such as Yeti, which you may have heard of that before. It's also called Abenisi from West Africa. It's called the Gray King in Wales, Wuduwiswasa in Finland. It is called wood devils in Appalachia. They've seen some in the Eastern United States, and they call it in that area wood devils. There are dozens and dozens of different names. Now, Bigfoot being 6 to 9 feet tall, so the average human adult is like 5'10", and so it's taller than the average adult, even up to 9 feet tall. So how could a creature that's 9 feet tall never be spotted, or very rarely be spotted? Well, they are nocturnal, so that's important to know. They like to sleep during the day, hide out, and then at night they do their hunting. And they are uber aware of human beings, and they do not want to be seen or caught. With that in mind, we're going to watch a video of a Bigfoot sighting that happened in 1967. This is one of the most famous Bigfoot sightings ever. Probably the biggest. And so watch this and make your own decision. All right, so there he is in the woods. He looks back and then he keeps on walking. Consider the way he's walking. Do you think that that is a walk that you would expect Bigfoot to make? Does it look like a human? A lot of people think this is a human that is wearing a costume in this video, walking and pretending to be Bigfoot. And Bigfoot looks back right there. See it? When he looks back, I wonder what he's thinking. Does he see at that moment? Is he seeing the people videotaping him? And if so, why isn't he running away? Why is he just walking still? These are things to consider, but this is the most famous sighting of Bigfoot. And so I will ask you, my friends, do you think that Bigfoot is fact or fiction? All right, we're going to go to number 2. Now, obviously, there's a lot more about each one of these different cryptids that we could talk about, but we do want to get through a whole bunch of them. Like I said, we have 15 to get through. I do encourage you to go to your local public library, and you can find books about all kinds of cryptids. They're usually going to be in the very beginning of the Dewey Decimal System in the nonfiction section. So look around the number of 001 or 001.9 or so, and that's where you should find it. All right, the next one is another famous one called the Loch Ness Monster. Now, the Loch Ness Monster is known in Scotland, and Loch is lake, and Ness is the name of the lake, so Lake Ness Monster, Loch Ness Monster. There have been lots and lots of sightings of the Loch Ness Monster through the last 1,500 years, a long time. However, they really started to become a lot when cars became popular in the 1930s, and they made a road that went all around Loch Ness, and then people would start to see sightings of it. So, for example, in 1933, Mr. and Mrs. George Spicer reportedly saw a long-necked animal with a midsection like a snail waddle from the bushes, cross the road, and sink into the lake on the other side. They sat in their automobile and watched in stunned silence. A year later, in 1934, medical student Arthur Grant said he nearly hit the lake monster with his motorcycle. His report described a blob with a small head, a bulky body, and 4 flippered legs, and a long, thick tail. Knowing something of natural history, he said, I can say I've never in my life seen an animal that looked like that. It looked like a cross between a plesiosaur and a seal. According to some theories, in prehistoric times, plesiosaurs left the water to lay their eggs, burying them in the sand or soil, as sea turtles do. So is that possibly what the Loch Ness Monster was doing? We're going to talk a little bit more in a moment about sightings, but first, they're estimating that the Loch Ness Monster is between 40 and 50 feet long. So that's pretty big. And there's another picture of it right there. I'm going to show you on the next slide what a lot of people think the sightings in like pictures like this one and other sightings actually are. And it might surprise you, or maybe not. Elephants. And you might be thinking, elephants in a lake in Scotland. That makes no sense. But I will tell you that in the 1930s, especially, there was circuses. There were circuses that were happening in that area, and they would let the elephants swim in that lake. So if you are considering that theory, and you look at this picture that's in front of us, notice the parts of the elephant that are actually above water. Its back, the top of its head, and its trunk. And if you were to consider that possibility, you might think that this does look like it could actually be an elephant. But it's up to you. It's your choice. What do you think? Fact or fiction? The Loch Ness Monster. Just like with Bigfoot, there are different kinds of sightings of similar creatures throughout the world, and they're called different things. With that in mind, here's our third cryptid, Champ. Champ is found in Lake Champlain, which is on the border of Vermont and New York, so it shares both sides of that. That lake itself is 125 miles long, so there's a lot of land there. And at the widest, it gets to, or a lot of water, and at the widest, it gets to be about 13 feet. So that's a lot of places to search for. But in 1977 was a sighting of Champ that a woman captured on photograph. So it says in July of 1977, Sandra Mancy, while swimming with her family on the Vermont side of Lake Champlain, saw something rise out of the water and slowly turn its head as if to examine the countryside. She ran to her car to get her camera and in a near panic snapped one picture before pulling her children from the water and making a fast retreat. For years, she hid the picture away for fear of being ridiculed. But when Mancy met Champ researcher Joseph Zarzinski, she found the courage to reveal her rare photograph. As a result, the sea monster's popularity hit new heights. In 1981, they had an article in the New York Times newspaper along with her photo that talked all about the Champ. Now, Champ is about half the size of the Loch Ness Monster, supposedly, so 15 to 20 feet long. And that is the picture that Sandra Mancy had taken. That's a different looking creature, isn't it? I just don't know what to make of that. I mean, it's a pretty good picture, and I wonder if it's not Champ. What is that? I mean, as far as I know, there weren't elephants that were in Lake Champlain swimming. So who knows? But the New York State Assembly, the lawmakers, passed a law that nobody can harm Champ at all. So they believe it's a possibility that Champ exists. This was from 1983. Anyhow, fact or fiction? What do you think? Champ. Okay, my friends, keep an open mind for this next one because you already probably have your opinion made about this one. Actually, the next two, you probably have an opinion already about. And we have videos about each of them. Mermaids. Mermaids. Now, sailors around the world have allegedly seen or heard mermaids since the 1st century AD. So we're talking over 2,000 years ago. At first described as having rough, scaly bodies, by the 5th century, mermaids became women from the waist up and fish from the waist down. You might say, mermaids don't exist. That's silly. That's just some Disney movie. Maybe you're right. However, there were sightings from 2 different people that you've probably heard of, sailors who have written accounts of seeing mermaids through their travels. In his ship logs, Christopher Columbus reported seeing mermaids. They allegedly rose out of the water alongside his ships, suggesting to marine experts that they may have been dolphins. In 1608, Henry Hudson had a longer encounter with a mermaid off the coast of Russia. He described it as a fair-skinned creature with long dark hair and a tail like a porpoise, but spotted. So those are famous people who have said that they've seen mermaids. All right, so we know mermaids are all different sizes, live in oceans. We assume they eat seaweed and algae. And let's watch a video. We'll watch this one a couple times. So you see right there, that's the video, picture of the beginning of the video where the mermaid's swimming away. So what I want you to do is while we're playing this video, watch the person's reaction when the camera pans to the person that's over here on this side. All right. Now, he looks a little bit surprised, right? Let's watch it again. All right, one last time. Watch the way the mermaid swims. Are you believing this? Do you think it's a setup and not real? Could be real, might not be real. We're going to find out. Well, someday maybe. But in your opinion, are mermaids fact or fiction? All right, next one, unicorns. Unicorns. Now we know about unicorns, right? I mean, My Little Pony, you see them all around in books now. They're really popular in picture books. Horns on the head of a horse. Well, we don't really know much about unicorns either. However, I'm going to show you a video that might change your opinion of whether or not unicorns exist. It takes place in Asia, this video. And I'm going to let it play here.
Aber echt schön mit dem Grün.
While it's playing,
Der ganze
just
Baum.
imagine, these people are on the other side of this valley. So they're on a mountain, there's a valley, and that's what they're taking the video of.
Guck mal da so in die Mitte.
We're going to zoom in a moment.
Ein Vieh.
Meinst du diese Lücke da hinten oder was? Das ist eine Kuh oder so.
Right there. You see it? So assume this is like a white creature, right? Like it looks like a unicorn would look. And right there, looks to me like it could be a horn. Now, is this one a hoax? Maybe this video is made up. But it'd be pretty hard, in my opinion, to be on the other side of the mountain, the valley, in a different mountain, looking over. We're going to watch this again from about 5 seconds previous, and then we'll go through till the unicorn disappears.
Das ist eine Kuh oder so.
Kann auch nicht mehr sehen.
Ist weg? Ist weg.
Looks like they're a little surprised too. Maybe they're just good actors, or maybe that really was a unicorn or something they didn't expect to see. All right, let's get back to this. All right, so do you think unicorns are fact or fiction? All right, let's go to the next one. Mongolian death worm. That deserves some music. Can you imagine this Mongolian death worm? Let's learn a little bit about it. Known to the indigenous tribesmen as algocorkoi, or intestine worm, this blood-red creature with black spots and spiky horn-like growths on both ends grows to be 5 feet long. It allegedly lives in the vast sand dunes and rocky valleys of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. Most reports of sightings come during the hottest months of June and July, when the big worm rises from its underground lair. But don't get too close. It supposedly kills from a distance by electric shock or by spitting poison at its victims. So they say the smaller ones that have been sighted are about 2 feet. So they say about 2 to 5 feet, and they believe it is carnivorous, which means it eats meat. Hopefully not you or me, but still, we don't have a ton of information about the Mongolian death worm. That's another illustration of what it might look like. A little terrifying if you ask me. And with so little information, it might be hard to make this decision, but what do you think? Fact or fiction, Mongolian death worm? Next is the bunyip. We're going to go down to Australia. Some say the Australian continent is a land of rare and unusual animals, and that's pretty easy to prove. All you need to do is look at kangaroos, bilbies, bandicoots, and koalas to be convinced. But what about the bunyip? You have to look hard in the land down under to find proof of this strange creature. In Aboriginal bedtime stories, the bunyip is described as a river spirit that is likely to gobble up children and livestock when they wander too close to the water's edge. The legends tell of a man called Bunyip who broke the rainbow serpent's greatest law by eating his totem animals. Banished by the good spirit Biami, Bunyip became an evil spirit who lured tribesmen and livestock into the waterways where he would eat them. The Bunyip has also been described as a feathered serpent, a swimmer with a dog's head, and the flippers of a whale, and even a gopher with the claws of a shark. A sloth, not a shark. Descriptions change with each retelling, which makes it probably likely that the Bunyip is just a fantasy. But this ancient legend, passed down from generation to generation, is a fertile seed in Australia's legendary landscape. And so it is about the size of a full-grown calf, is what they're saying, and they do think it eats meat. As you can see right here, there's a picture of a poor lady who looks like she got caught up and she got a little too close to the water's edge. I have to tell you, this is not a photograph. This one is a drawing. They do say that it is possibly a prehistoric rhino that somehow avoided extinction. It's called you might know these words better than me, Diprotodon australis, which is the prehistoric rhino that escapes some sort of extinction. So that's possible. What do you think though, Bunyip? Fact or fiction? All right, let's go to number 9. Nope, 8, sorry. The Altamahaha. Now the Altamahaha is also known as the Alti, and it is from the Georgia, Florida area. And it's another one of those creatures in the vein of the Loch Ness Monster and the Champ. It is found in the Altamaha River. And so the first reports of this creature came in the 1960s. Now, sightings include one reported by 3 Georgia boys in 1998. So listen to this. Bennett Bacon was only 11 years old in May of 1998, which is the same age as his friend Rusty Davis. The third boy, Owen Lynch, was 12. But 2 years later, they remembered the incident clearly as they talked to the Brunswick News on Halloween, October 31st, 2000. Just after Rusty's friend Bennett had jumped into the river for a swim, this thing popped out of the water, Rusty said. It was gray and brown and had stuff all over it like seaweed and grass. The thing was only 10 feet from his friend, who was splashing in the water. Rusty and Owen screamed for Bennett to get out of the water, but he thought they were kidding until he turned and saw a scaly tail sticking out of the water, so close he could have touched it if he had not been running to get out of the water and away from the monster. Although dozens of other ordinary people swear they've also seen the Altamahaha, experts at the Georgia Department of Natural Resources insist there is no such thing. Although no real evidence proof exists that either theory is right or wrong, Spears believe it's only a matter of time before evidence settles the question. So the Altamahaha, they estimate, is about 20 feet long, which, as you remember, is probably about the length of the Champ. They think it might weigh 200 to 400 pounds. And it is dark gray or brown with an alligator-like snout and the smooth skin of an eel, but tire tread-like ridges on its back, and it moves up and down like a porpoise rather than back and forth like a fish. And it's not so shy because a lot of the sightings have been of people in boats and just comes right up to the boat. So, my friends, Altamahaha, fact or fiction? All right, our next one is the Dover Demon from right here in Massachusetts. Dover, Massachusetts, to be exact. And we're not going to talk much about this one specifically because we're going to watch a video. And it says Jersey Devil here, but just ignore that. It's the Dover Demon.
Bill Bartlett all of a sudden came upon this creature. He saw this and was kind of burned onto his memory.
3 separate sightings over the course of 25 hours.
The next sighting where John Baxter saw it, he was definitely more scared. Its eyes seemed to glow.
Never been identified.
It wasn't an alien. It wasn't some kind of mutant animal. Nothing panned out.
They come
It's
from.
almost as if the Dover demon popped into our reality and popped out.
A couple of the witnesses of the Dover demon said that it had shining eyes. Eye shine is something that happens at night in some species of animals.
Well, many nocturnal animals have an eye structure that allows maximum light in and has a whole layer that reflects light in a big way. And so eye shine is something that you see if you go out into the forest at night. You see different colors and different patterns if you're looking at an alligator versus a dog versus a cat versus a raccoon.
There have been reports with the Dover demon, one saying that the eyes were orange, one saying that the eyes were green. This could be if one person's headlight was a really different color going into the animal's eye, it could shine back in a different color as well. There are a couple of ideas that I have, but all of them are exotics. So they're animals that you wouldn't find in Dover, Massachusetts, unless someone had the animal for a pet and the pet escaped. But I think this is a possibility, and it would match nicely with the fact that the Dover demon was only seen on a 2-day period. I think my favorite in trying to match up the Dover demon with a natural species is the slender loris. It's a nocturnal primate. It has very skinny, long arms and legs. It has gigantic eyes. It's nocturnal, so it has the tapetum lucidum and can have eye shine.
Well, this is the one case that I really and most definitely am secure in saying, I don't know what this is.
The Dover demon, fact or fiction? We're going to go from Dover, Massachusetts to Loveland, Ohio, and talk about the Loveland frog, our 10th cryptid. Loveland frog is said to be about 3 to 4 feet tall, and nobody really knows about its diet. It's very similar to the Dover demon in that it wasn't really seen over the course of much time. It was over the course of only a few different days that happened 17 years apart. That's an illustration of what the Loveland frog looks like. And let's read a little bit about eyewitness reports. Few people have witnessed this kind of creature, but it's always been late at night on remote backcountry roads. As a result, it may be easy to dismiss tales of reptilian creatures that stand on 2 legs and look like frogs, sometimes wielding a weird kind of spark-shooting wand. Some witnesses have reported that the Loveland frog looked right at them before jumping over a guardrail and sliding down the embankment into the Little Miami River near Cincinnati, Ohio. The first sighting was in 1955, and the next ones were almost 20 years later in 1972, where 3 separate sightings were reported. Okay? 2 of those sightings were by police officers. So respected officials in the public, not just teenagers making a joke, but police officers said they saw this thing. I don't know what I would think if I saw a 4 feet tall frog walking with a wand, with spark shooting out of it. What would you think? Anyhow, fact or fiction? What do you think? Real or not real? The Loveland frog. All right. We are on to number 11. So we have 5 more to go, and 4 of them we have videos for, including Mothman. So I'm not going to read you much about Mothman at all, actually. We're just going to go right to the video. This is in West Virginia. A story. The weird events connected to the Mothman began on November 12, 1966, near Clendenin, West Virginia. 5 men were in the local cemetery that day preparing a grave for a burial when something that looked like a round human being lifted off from some nearby trees and flew over their heads. The men were baffled. It did not appear to be a bird, but more like a man with wings. After a few days, more sightings would take place, electrifying the entire region. How did all this begin? They say that there was an explosion near a TNT plant. It supposedly destroyed the silver bridge shown in this next image. Means that the silver bridge is mostly where the Mothman is sighted. Possible that a human interfered with the explosion, deforming into the Mothman? Here are the photos. See right up here. Photo. Down here. Then up here. There's an illustration of it as well. And then that brings us to the question, Mothman, fact or fiction? Next is Mokele Mbembe. You might recognize that as a kind of dinosaur. So it has been cited, this Mokele Mbembe, many different places and over the course of many different years. In 1932 in Congo, in 1980 in Congo, in 1981 in Congo, and then 83 and 1992 in Congo, all different parts of Congo. And so it can be 15 to 30 feet long, and it's an herbivore, they think, judging from the past dinosaurs who they are reminded of. They think that's true. And so they asked the person who is a crypto safariist, so he goes on expeditions to find cryptids. They said, what do you really think Mokele Mbembe is? His name's Scott Norman. And Scott Norman said, based on the fact that locals always pick the picture of the sauropod, I believe Mokele Mbembe is a living sauropod. Another possibility is that it could be an amphibian, but it doesn't really fit the description of any amphibian. And I don't believe it's a case of mistaken identity. The people in that area know the differences between an elephant and Mokele. Its physical characteristics are that it's large, murky, and is a red dish-colored creature with a long neck, round, three-toed feet. Keep in mind that elephants and hippos have 5 toes, and it has a massive tail. It's said to eat aquatic plants, so plants from the water. And some say it has a frilly crest on the top of its head, like a rooster. There is a video of this one that I want to show you.
Some scientists take the Bayaka story very seriously. In 1992, a Japanese expedition traveled to remote Lac Tele, in the heart of the Congo forest. They were looking for a dinosaur, a long-lost leftover from the Cretaceous period. They even claimed to have seen and shot footage of a plesiosaur-like creature swimming in the waters of the lake. Mokele Mbembe.
All right, what do you think? Fact or fiction? Did you expect to see a swimming like that? Real or not real? All right, number 13, chupacabra. In Mexican and Puerto Rican legends, the chupacabra is a monster, a ferocious beast that drains every drop of blood from the unfortunate victims, often goats and chickens, in record times. In fact, the word chupacabra means the sucker of goats. There's a couple different pictures of it I want to show you. That's an illustration. They think it is the size of a dog coyote. It eats livestock, so goats and other farm animals as well. And it's found a lot of times in the United States, Mexico, Puerto Rico. This is a totally different image of what somebody thinks a chupacabra looks like. Take that for what it's worth. We're going to see in a moment a video. It's a newscast, actually, about a dead creature that was found that they believe could possibly be chupacabra. Check it out.
Rocky Vincent looks for golf balls on the job at the club at Runaway Bay Golf Course.
It's kind of slow.
2 days ago, he saw something on the course he'll never forget.
It was like a shaved weenie dog with raccoon feet, a possum tail, and a possum head. Been inbred way too many times or something.
Pictures show a hairless dead animal with odd limbs and feet and sharp teeth. Could this be the legendary chupacabra or goat sucker?
I don't know. That's just weird. Weird animal. Playing around here.
He saw the dead animal lying in the back of a driving range near a wooded area. It wasn't very big.
About this long, about this big around.
We showed the pictures to Fort Worth zoo expert John Ward, who said,
I couldn't say if it was a coyote or just a stray dog, but it looks like it's got some sort of, skin condition, mange. It looks a little swollen, and it doesn't have a lick of hair on it.
Cody Caraway, another golf course employee, doesn't think it was a coyote.
If you look at the claws on it and the feet, nothing like it.
Or a dog, or a raccoon.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't know what it is.
And so, the legend lives on.
Totally different. Totally different than it looks in this picture. Huh. What do you think? Chupacabras, fact or fiction? All right, number 14 is the Thunderbird. The Quileute people of the Pacific Northwest speak of a great bird with a wingspan longer than 2 war canoes that rescued them from starvation. According to legend, it appeared in the west carrying a whale. It lowered the whale to the jubilant villagers and then took to the sky, returning to its cave in the mountains. Other, less kindly Thunderbirds have been reported from all around the world, including reports from Pennsylvania, Norway, and the Swiss Alps that claim that the Thunderbird carried away children and small pets. So the wingspan that they're assuming this Thunderbird has is between 12 and 18 feet. So put your arms out by your sides, and about 4 of those arm spans. So if there were 4 of you standing hand to hand, all like that, that is the wingspan of the Thunderbird that they're talking about here, this cryptid. Here's this picture of one odd looking Thunderbird that's much smaller. Maybe it's a baby or something, but this was found, a man had found and taken a picture of, I think in the 1940s or so. We don't have a ton of information about Thunderbird, but with all that in mind, what do you think, Thunderbird, fact or fiction? All right, well, we're down to our last cryptid, the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil. Just like the Dover Demon, there's a Lost Tapes video about this that we're going to watch.
In 1735, my ancestor, Mother Leeds, was pregnant with her 13th child, and it said, under the pain of birth, of labor, she cried out, "Let it be the devil," and so it was. The creature, the baby was born normally at first, but then metamorphosed into this dragon-like creature. In some accounts, the creature sort of thrashes everyone in the room. In other accounts, it kills the women who are attending the birth, and then it flies around the room and out the chimney and into the night.
And that, many say, is the earliest story of the Jersey Devil. Children born in that time with a genetic defect, born alive or dead, but of nature gone awry, and such a monstrosity, as it was sometimes called, or even monster, would often be thought to be a sign of some sort, or evidence of some kind of satanic activity or witchcraft.
The Jersey Devil, or the Leeds Devil as it is sometimes called, is a cryptid animal It is mostly described as a flying bipedal creature, meaning that it stands upright. There are variations on this that has the body of a gaunt horse. The forelegs are shorter. The hind legs are actually skinny but hooved. There are wings that, depending on reports, vary from 2 feet outstretched to 4 to 6 to 8 even. It has a tail, which is considered a spike or fork as part of its demonic or supernatural origin.
It frightens people, especially children, and it kills livestock and wreaks havoc on social order. And there were really a surprising number of attacks in a very short period of time.
From literally the 1700s, we go from 1951 to 1960, when a $10,000 reward was offered in 1991, on to 2007, 2008, and sightings there.
The scariest thing about the Jersey Devil is its appearance and its size. You know, it's this man-sized or larger than man-sized dragon. I mean, if I saw that coming toward me, I'd certainly run the other way too.
And I would as well. Jersey Devil, fact or fiction? Awesome. So we went through 15 different cryptids during this session. Did you have a favorite one that you like the most, that you're, or one that you're most sure exists? And then is there one that you are most sure doesn't exist? Cool. Well, just a reminder, the book that we used a lot of the anecdotes from and talked about was Tales of the Cryptids by Hall, Spears, and Young, which you can find along with lots of other cryptid books at your local library. I hope you can join us for another fact or fiction. We're going to be talking next month about UFOs. So I hope to see you then. Bye.